Iran, 1977, 1975. Look, nobody was wearing hijabs, nothing like that. And in 1979, it's over. It's lights out. We can't ignore the poison of Islamists in our own society. We all think that it's not going to happen. It can't happen, but it can. All we have to do is make the distinction between Islamist and a Muslim. One is our enemy. The other is a practitioner of a religion.
I mean, I would expand that to say it's extremism, right? Extremism of any kind should be condemned by all right-thinking people, because extremism is never the right way, just by the very
definition. When are we going to do that?
By the very definition of the word. You are an extremist.
Isn't that, in some ways, exactly what Donald Trump did? Took a clear line. We've had president after president say, we're not going to let this stand. He does it, and now he's the extremist? I don't know. I think he's standing up for what he believes is coming.
Glenn, what's fascinating, watching the conservative right in the last few weeks has been fascinating for the real schism that's been developing now. What do you make of that? There's always been disagreement, but never quite, it seems to me, on such implacable levels as we're seeing right now, where people are really one way or the other.
I've never seen anything. I'm friends with Ted Cruz. I'm friends with Tucker Carlson. I like both of them. I know Donald Trump. I don't know Elon Musk, but I like both of them. Stop making me choose. I don't think this is helpful for the Republic. We can disagree on things, but to have these arguments that we're having, I mean, I'm sorry, I've known Candace Owens for a long time. I don't know what happened to Candace. She's off on a different planet now. To deny Mangala and everything else is truly horrifying. But there's a lot of people that I disagree with that I can still have conversations with. I think this is, in many ways, intentional. We're all being driven to these extremes, and it's either you are this or you are that, and there's nothing in between. That's not real life. All life has nuance. There's no way to navigate. There's no way to defend ourselves, our culture, if we all must be 100% this or 100% that.
And you know what? And I genuinely believe it's been fueled by social media, because what social media does, it fuels tribalism, where people, in the end, they become so tribal, and their echo chamber keeps reinforcing this one singular worldview, that when facts change, they don't want to accept it. If it is negative to their tribe, and it reminds me, I read a book about this several years ago, where I talked about, if you go back in 2,000 years, you would have genuine tribes, right, in the world. And they would be on their own, and they would dress a certain way, and they would cut their hair a certain way, they would eat certain food, they would drink certain drinks, they would have a language which they understood, and they would stay pretty much in their own area amongst themselves. So they only ever knew one way. And then slowly but surely, these tribes edged out and began to travel more, and they encountered other tribes. And these other tribes looked a bit different, they sounded a bit different, they maybe ate different food, they laughed at different things. And these tribes concluded in that experimental moment that the only solution was to kill each other. And I look at what happens on social media now, and it's pretty much the same thing, where the tribes are so locked in to supporting their own side against any invader, as they put it, that even when there is something which self-evidently their own side should condemn, whether it's a right or left, they can't bring themselves to do it. They will fall over themselves to explain, to justify, to excuse, because they feel like they're betraying their tribe.
So I completely agree with that, but I'd like to add one more thing. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and you tell yourself lies and lies and lies and lies, and you get to a point to where at some point you have to reject almost everything you are to tell the truth. And it becomes, you might know, I can't keep living this way. I can't keep living this way. But you have to reject everything that you have built. And that's the problem with these tribes, is we have separated ourselves. And for me to not hate you, I have to reject almost everything that I have built in my own life because I'm built on hating you now.
Yeah.
That is a really dangerous place. And we're there. And we have to recognize Western civilization, and beyond that, in the Bible, when the Jews go down into Israel, the Lord says, choose life. That is the choice. It is life or death. There is a culture of death through many different factions, if you will. Death or life. We've got to choose life. And the Western civilization has always been about life. If we can't find our way to each other and say, look, I reject this death cult, we're not going to survive.
No.
And if we don't survive, the world becomes a very dark place. And I don't mean the United States. I mean the entire Western world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is why I found what Elon Musk calls the woke mind virus so damaging, because it fueled all that stuff. And often on a kind of preposterous denial of even basic biology and science. And when people started trying to defend the fact that biological men were in women's sport, I was like, we've lost our minds here. What is going on?
And isn't it amazing? The guy who was the biggest on the left, he was a hero for what he did for the environment and electric cars and everything else. The minute he disagrees with them politically,
they trash
he's
him.
dead to them.
Yeah,
they try to destroy his business. They burn his cars. They'd like to kill him. That should tell you something. You're on the wrong side when that is your reaction.
And also, if you're behaving exactly the same way that you profess to condemn in others, that should tell you it's time to look in the mirror and work out what you're really about. What is your soul actually doing? If you spend all day shrieking one thing and then you behave exactly the same way yourself.
Piers, I have to tell you, I think about England a lot. I pray for England a lot. I don't know if I'm getting on my social media what it's really like in England, but I've seen a difference when I was in London just in 3 years. I was there 3 years ago. I was just there recently. And there is a difference there. And if we don't find a way to wake up, stand up, and bring people to their senses calmly and rationally, all of our countries are going to fall like dominoes soon.
Well, the big problem I have with England is, look, there are many great qualities of England. I think it's been massively overblown. And people like Tommy Robinson and these guys, they are not people that should be taken seriously in this debate, in my estimation. However, notwithstanding that, the insidious attacks on free speech in England have been really, really staggering and alarming to watch. When you get people, grandmothers being locked up for something they posted on Facebook and then delete it because they thought I shouldn't have done that. That's not what a democratic society like the UK should be doing to anybody. I think that obviously we all know, I think, in our gut what the exceptions to free speech are. If you're literally inciting people to kill people, fine. We can all agree that is wrong, right? But when you're expressing a vehement opinion because you may be emotionally overwrought about something, which is genuinely horrific, and you're just spewing off,
or you're just wrong,
and you then calm down and delete that, whatever, and then you're put in prison for 2 years. I just think that is basically, then you're into North Korea, Russia, and everything else, where any criticism of the state does that.
Which brings me right back to where we started. Thank you for having people I strongly disagree with. I disagreed with both of those guests that you just had on. Thank you for having them on. I have to see that. We all have to see that. We have to exercise the muscle of curiosity and intelligence and calmness while listening to people we vehemently disagree with.
Yeah, and just final point, but on the guy, the Israeli minister, the reason I was so annoyed was one of the devices used to silence legitimate debate about this is you call somebody something ending in ik or ist. So if you said the biological men in women's sport thing was a problem, you were immediately transphobic. And similarly, if you've criticized Israel's recent strategy in Gaza, which most people find pretty indefensible, even if you've been someone like me that stuck his neck out to defend Israel for many, many months and their right to defend themselves, even if I've tried to be really fair and impartial and go after both sides where I felt they're wrong. That any semblance of criticising the Israeli government strategy meant I must be anti-Semitic and a Jew hater. And I was really incensed by that. And so when he came on and tried to pretend that isn't what he was